There has been so much hype on Big Navi in the form of an RX 5950 XT, the nVidia killer that people speculated it was coming soon. The only way it could have arrived this early is if it were to be based on RDNA 1. Thankfully, that won't happen. At AMD's Financial Analyst Day, we did receive some new information on timing, architecture, and performance expectations. Let's start first with timing. When will we see Big Navi? Rick Bergman, Executive Vice President, spilled the beans a bit when speaking about Navi 2X family of products when he said, "We'll introduce those products at the end of this year." And then reiterated Navi 2X starting later this year and then continuing forward. And that's continuing forward into next year with the refreshed versions of the RX 5000 series into an RDNA 2 based RX 6000 series of GPUs. He also mentioned the target for Big Navi is targeting enthusiast class performance and to provide great performance at 4K resolutions. So based on all the leaks and rumors, it's reasonable to expect AMD will introduce two cards by the end of this year that will enable 4K gaming. An RX 6900 XT based on 80 compute units using a chip area the size of 500mm squared, and an RX 6800 XT based on 60 compute units using a chip the size of about 380mm squared. Why two cards? I'll talk about that later. Big Navi will also have hardware accelerated ray tracing and variable rate shading. And yes, these will be more powerful than the GPUs in the Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5. Those consoles will contain a mid-range GPU based on RDNA 2. It will not be Big Navi. The 12 teraflops Microsoft confirmed can easily be attained by using the higher clock speeds of 2 GHz like in the 50th anniversary RX 5700 XT, which is at 10.14 teraflops, and adding a 15% improvement in IPC or instructions per clock, which they will get with performance enhancements and by removing all traces of GCN from RDNA 2. The console Navi GPU would be more akin to an RX 6700. Using RDNA 2 and game optimizations will make it possible for 4K gaming on these consoles. Just think of it, you can't sell a $400 to $500 gaming console with a high-end GPU inside. It has to be a mid-range GPU. But this is also exciting since the next mid-range GPU that replaces the RX 5700 XT, in other words the RX 6700 XT, could offer entry-level 4K gaming, and that would also be very exciting for $399. Big Navi will ensure PC gamers will have enthusiast class performance for 4K gaming, but for a higher price. What price? If you want a game in 4K today, you have one choice, and that is the RTX 2080 Ti, and those cards are $1,100 to $1,200. AMD execs have said that Big Navi is going to disrupt 4K gaming like Ryzen disrupted the CPU segment. Ryzen disrupted the CPU segment by bringing more cores for a much lower price. It brought high-end desktop or HEDT levels of computing down to the consumer segment. That means Big Navi will take high-end 4K gaming and bring it down to price levels for the consumer segment. For AMD, being disruptive like Ryzen means bringing 4K gaming performance down to a more affordable price point. It does not mean taking the GPU crown away from nVidia. And I think that means 4K gaming graphics cards under $1,000. Look for AMD to release an RX 6900 XT based on the 80 compute units to sell for $999, and the RX 6800 XT based on the 60 compute units to sell for $699. Getting back to why I think they'll have two cards, offering the biggest Navi highest card only, the RX 6900 XT at $999 would not seem to be disruptive at all. It would be better, but not disruptive, and it would leave too large a gap between the high-end and the mid-range RX 6700 XT at just $399. However, having a graphics card that has better than 2080 Ti performance levels for $699, now that seems disruptive. It puts 4K gaming to within reach of more gamers, and if you want higher performance levels than that, you can get it for under $1,000. The RX 6800 XT will make the 6900 XT much more palatable for the gaming community. It will be an interesting cat and mouse game at the end of this year to see who will launch first, with what performance, and at what price. Do I think AMD will take the 4K gaming crown from nVidia? nVidia? I do not, at least not in 2020, and here's why. The GTX 1080 Ti set nVidia well above AMD back in 2017. nVidia then raised the bar with the RTX 2080 Ti in 2018. AMD countered with the Radeon 7 in early 2019, and that was close to the 1080 Ti in performance, but not quite. Then later in 2019, AMD released the RX 5700 XT that came close to the Radeon 7 in performance for $300 less. If we take the 50% performance per watt improvements for RDNA 2, we can see that the RX 6800 XT will be roughly 10 to 15% better than the RTX 2080 Ti, while the RX 6900 XT will be 40 to 50% better than the 2080 Ti. However, nVidia is set to refresh its lineup this fall. I think nVidia will introduce the RTX 3080 and it will have a 15 to 20% improvement over the RTX 2080 Ti and be priced at the $699 level. nVidia will also release the RTX 3080 Ti that will be massive, and nVidia will still charge $1199 in the belief that people will still pay a higher price for the best performing graphics card. It seems AMD is not interested in a GPU war with nVidia, at least in terms of highest performance. They are extremely focused on 4K gaming, and they are happy to slot in under NVIDIA's pricing structure, as they've demonstrated with the RX 5000 series of cards. It's been a very profitable move for them to sell based on slightly improved performance per dollar. I don't think AMD will have the NVIDIA killer until 2021. By then, AMD would have the experience with larger die sizes, and I speculate that they could offer an RX 6950 XT with more than 100 compute units. That could take the RTX 3080 Ti, but that would be in 2021. Then again, NVIDIA could also then counter with the new Ampere-based Titan. This is going to be fun to watch. However this plays out, with who releases what first and who will try to debate the other, it seems that by year's end we should have graphics cards from AMD and NVIDIA that will enable us to game in 4K for less than $1,000, and that is a win for everyone. That is going to do it for this one. Like it if you learned something, share it with others, and subscribe for more. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.